according to an article in The Guardian, the price of short-term government debt fell by half, pushing up the cost of borrowing by the same amount as investors took fright at the prospect that the U.S. will miss interest payments next month. Now, this is going into the debt ceiling now. And the article continues, the growing anxiety among mainstream corporate America and party donors, such as the Koch brothers, may prove to be what forces the party leadership to rethink. And, of course, in one case, the party actually is rethinking this. Earlier today, Speaker John Boehner announced that it will move forward, the House will move forward with a 6-week debt limit extension. Oh, okay, so they don't want to hit the debt limit after all and cause economic catastrophe. I suppose that's a step in the right direction, right? Now, the plan, of course, would be to raise the debt limit through November 22nd while still keeping the government shut down to allow negotiations to continue. Now, negotiations meaning give me everything that I want. Defund Obamacare.
Right. They don't want compromise. They're not going to give in on anything.
Mm-hmm. For sure. This whole thing is about give me everything that I want.
Right.
The thing that surprises me the most, actually, is how the president actually isn't budging on this.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he holds to his resolve on this one, because we can't compromise with them either, because what they want is unreasonable.
Mm-hmm. Now, the president, of course, earlier today, and this is kind of breaking, he actually rejected this offer. He's like, I'm not going to do it. Fuck you guys. I'm not, he's sticking with the line of, I'm not negotiating with you over the debt ceiling while the government is shut down. And I'm actually very heartened that he's kind of stuck with it. I'm very surprised. I figured that he would, waffle like a long time ago. Then he'd be like, oh, okay. I'll defund Obamacare. Or I'll delay it at least. But I'm very, very surprised that he actually is sticking to his point. Of course, this morning, before the president had rejected it, there was Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers. She said, quote, we're going to offer legislation that will offer a temporary increase in the debt ceiling that will allow us some time to continue this conversation. What I was thinking when I read that is, what's there to talk about?
Right.
What's there to talk about? Obamacare is the law. It is the law of the land. It has been passed through the democratic process.
Yeah,
right?
They've tried to repeal it like, what, 42 times now?
Probably 43 now. It's getting pretty close.
Yeah, it went through the Supreme Court. It was upheld. It passed. It's
constitutional.
Law. Get over it. This is the democratic process. They're whining like little children. My 3-year-old is easier to reason with than these people.
It's amazing that they're continuing to ask for incredibly unreasonable things, and I think that is part of. Actually, I think this is it's not the president's fault entirely, and I'm not blaming the President Obama for the shutdown at all. So don't get me wrong on that. All right. However, I do blame the president for his past actions, and what I mean by that is his so-called negotiations during the fiscal cliff. And during all these different times, the GOP did threaten to, tried to take the government hostage and threaten default and all that stuff. And the fact that President Obama was more than willing to negotiate. You remember, like I said, the fiscal cliff, where John Boehner famously said, I got 98% of what I wanted. Absolutely. So this kind of, in my mind, emboldens the GOP, emboldens the Tea Party, Speaker Boehner. It says that, don't worry, if we hold strong enough, President Obama is going to fold, because he's always folded.
Right. You're right, actually. It sets a precedent. I mean, just like with bad parenting, if you give in to the spoiled little child, every time in the past, then that sets a precedent and sets up expectations in the child that if they keep whining and they keep screaming and throwing a fit long enough, that eventually you will give in to their demands.
Absolutely, and that's essentially where we're at. Is they're expecting the president to go, okay, okay, I'm going to give you something. Now we talked about this. Actually, I talked about this back on what is it last Saturday. I talked about how this will lead to the grand bargain. You know that the grand bargain that of course cuts Social Security, cuts Medicare, and cuts corporate taxes. Oh yay! It's pretty much a windfall and everything that the GOP wants. Oh, maybe not everything. They have a whole list of incredibly extreme demands, but getting a Democratic president to cut Social Security and Medicare and cut corporate taxes at the same time, that's pretty much a Republican win. And I mean, that's about the worst deal that could happen. And unfortunately, the door is still open for that. But kind of the irony about this is the fact that the Tea Party is so incredibly intransigent, they won't even let Boehner do that deal that gives them a lot of what they want.